When we draw near to God and commit to encouraging one another, we can create a church with unstoppable momentum. But you have to be intentional about your momentum. You can either move towards Jesus or away from him. And if you're moving away from Jesus, you're moving towards someone else. And it ain't Jesus. Would you like some practical ways that you can draw near to God? Okay, good. I have them here for you. Sometimes ago, Pastor Kurt did a whole series. Again, I'm not over here, so I don't know when it was, but I know it happened. I just don't remember. He did a whole series on the beholding rhythms. Anybody remember the numbers? Let the record show that they said 513. Well, that's not right. $513. At least that's what my notes say. I hope they're right. 5 practices daily. Read your Bible. Be silent with the Lord. Worship him. Pray in the Spirit and pray for your requests. Those are your 5 things that you can do daily. 1 day of rest weekly. 1 day of rest weekly. Yeah, okay. I didn't know if those words jumbled up in my mouth. 1 day of rest. Take a chill pill. We are so busy doing everything, you have to rest. I love my days off. My Fridays are great. I like to sleep in sometimes, and I literally don't do anything. I like to just sit there for a little bit, you know? It's good to rest. It's good to not have to think about something or do something. And then 3 days of fasting monthly. If you do that, you are being intentional about drawing near to God. Those are 3 very easy, practical ways for you to draw near to God. As a staff, we want you to get, another one is groups. We want you to get involved in groups. We have a new pastor. Pastor Matt is on staff now. We're revamping the way groups work. We're changing course here so that we can get more people involved. We want everyone to be involved in some kind of group, one way or another. Again, as iron sharpens iron. When I first became a Christian, a group I got put in was with the lead pastor and his wife and a bunch of, not elderly, but elders of the church, and then there was me, this 24-year-old kid who didn't know nothing. So it was me and the lead pastor and his wife and elders of the church and me. But can I tell you that God put me in that group for such a reason and such a time as that was, because I learned so much from them. They gave me words of wisdom. Anytime I have a word, that I feel like I have a word, I still take it through the 4 things that she told me. Is it for everyone? Is it for me? Is it for now? Is it for later? Every single time I think about that moment. They actually then put me in charge of the food. We were doing 40 days of community, and they said, hey, why don't you be in charge of who brings the food every week? A different group will bring the food every week, and you can be in charge. I'm like, you don't really know me, but I like food. I'm going to have to taste test it. I would tell all the cute little old ladies that would bring pie, I'm like, you have to bring a piece for me so I can make sure it's not poisonous. And they would. They would always bring me, Ron James. She's like, how do you get these little old ladies to bring you pie all the time? I'm like, I don't know. But they let me do that. They saw that I was hungry for the Lord. They were like, here, do this. And it was good. I gained some weight, but it was okay. The pie was great. And then they would bring these little frozen custard balls that you get at Sam's Club. They're like the little, what are they called? Yes, oh my gosh, and they have to be frozen. They would take them out of the bucket and put them in a bag. They're like, here, taste these ones. I was like, none of these ones were poisonous. I might have to check the rest of the bucket, though. Random samplings. But be involved in a group, because I'm going to tell you right now, that group really set me up for what was my continued momentum. Right after that group was we were asked to get involved in serving. Yes, plugging serving again. Serve. Because once you start serving, your faith, you start to own your faith. You start to put ownership in where you go to church. You start to put ownership in the ministry that you start to volunteer in. Our whole group, it was really funny, our whole group of friends were all praying, Lord, where should we serve? What should we do? We all ended up in the youth group together. Nobody knew. And we all started, within 2 weeks' time, we all ended up becoming youth leaders at the same time, and none of us even talked about it. We were literally just seeking God on our own, asking God, where can I serve? I want to encourage you to do that. Ask God, if you're not involved in something, get involved in a group and get involved. And you don't have to just serve in the church. There are many organizations that we partner with that may be more your speed, and that's great too. But do something. Get involved. Volunteer somewhere because you start putting ownership to your faith. Pastor Adam talked about this last one, Empower 25. We have some dynamic time in services ready for you so that you can be stirred up. We want you to be stirred up and ready to go for this year. We got some really cool speakers coming in. We got some cool stuff for the kids. Pastor Tyler, he's a great guy. I know he's planning a big thing for the kids over there. We want you to be able to get plugged in here at this church. And if you're new here, and I want to just scare you, if this is only your second time here, you don't have to get involved yet. But once you get your third time, you have to get involved. That's the rules. I'm just kidding. I only said that because I met some new friends. They said this is their second time. Get involved. Be intentional about how and what you're doing with your faith. Because if not, let me show you this. I got this in Nicaragua, my second mission trip. This is called a trompo. Anybody ever? It's slippery. Anybody ever throw a trompo before? So this down in Nicaragua, they don't have a lot of toys and stuff. But I'll tell you what, pretty much any kid, but a lot of people had these in their pockets at all times. So I got pretty good with it. But sometimes it just doesn't work right. Well, hopefully it works. I'm going to throw it this way so you guys can see it. Sometimes it doesn't. All right? And this string isn't really good. Ready? Here we go. I'm not going to throw this one because I did it in my office and I banged up my office. So then I bought some off of Amazon at home. I didn't bring them in because they didn't work right. I dented the stove. I threw it in my kitchen. I was like, boom, bing. I'm like, so when we got these, this is just for show. You can't play. I've tried to spin this thing so many, it just will not spin. I think it's the string. But when we got them, none of us could figure, we would wind them up, the kids would show us, and we're throwing them, and they kept spinning upside down. I'm like, why isn't it going on this stupid nail? So one of the young kids, he's like, you have to turn it over. Like, why don't they just tell you that? He said, well, everybody knows that. Well, not everybody knows that. I didn't know that. So you have to turn it over. You have to be intentional on how you hold it. You have to be intentional on how you throw it. So when you throw it, you don't just throw it. You have to throw with your arms straight. You can't bend you have to throw it like this, and you have to pull back at the last minute, and that's what causes it to flip over, and bzz. I got pretty good with it. I could actually throw it in my hand and catch it, or I could throw it on the ground, wrap the string around it, pop it up, and land it in my hand. It's actually pretty cool. But we're not going to do that today because I don't want to hit anybody with it or damage anything in here. No, I'm not even going to try. I have this instead, though. It's just as good. See, it spins. Each and every one of you are going home with a top today. But you have to be intentional. You have to spin it. You can't just drop it. It doesn't work. You have to be intentional on your action. Well, sometimes it goes over there. But you get the point. When we draw near to God and commit to encouraging one another, we can create a church with unstoppable momentum. But you have to be intentional about your momentum. Remember, I said you can either move towards Jesus or away from him. And if you're moving away from Jesus, you're moving towards someone else. And it ain't Jesus. That was one of those realizations I had. I'm like, ooh, I have to be intentional. Sometimes I get busy. Sometimes I get so busy doing stuff for God that I forget to do stuff with God. But you know what? His mercy is new every morning. And he isn't going to sit there and judge you. Be like, no, well, Tommy didn't read his Bible today. Mad at him. Oh, prayer was only 3 minutes. Should have been 4. Mad at him. That's not how God operates. He is so excited when you spend any amount of time with him. All he wants is your heart. He just wants you to be near him. Man, if we all were intentional about our momentum, if we were all intentional on drawing near to God, what kind of church would this be?